Hello, my name is Putkonen. Thank you for joining me. Today I'm talking about rewriting the brain with gratitude. And what I mean by this is all of suffering and happiness come from within. And it is our mind that acts as blinders, colored lenses, and it how we see the world is how our mind allows us to see it, based on our conditioning, assumptions, beliefs, thoughts. And I find that a lot of people have very negative or dark views of the world. And so they're constantly plagued by negativity and they think the world is a very dark place. But really, whether the world is heaven or hell, it's what we make of it. And it's based on our mental mindset, so to speak. And so today I want to talk about a little bit about reprogramming this mindset or the way we view the world. Because if you have a very dark or negative view of the world and you're constantly complaining and you constantly see things that are wrong and the world is just a problem, it will just continue to downward spiral. That's the nature of the mind. Is once you get a mindset like this, it will screen out anything that's positive, anything that counters the assumptions, beliefs, and conditioning, and it will highlight or point out anything that confirms our assumptions and beliefs. And so one of the ways, and I think a very simple and good way to help reprogram the mental mindset. If you find you're very negative, what you want to do is you want to program in a bit more positive mindset. And the way this happens is through gratitude. And it is something you need to build a habit on because you're rewiring the brain. I mean, it's the synapses that fire together, that kind of thing that we hear about, building in patterns, so to speak. It needs to be consistent and repetitive. And so what I'm suggesting is a daily practice that will be done for at least 30 days, if not 45. I think 30 is kind of the minimum. I think some people find 45 better. But it's one of those things where for at least a month, every day, there's a couple things we're going to do. One of the things we're going to do is at the end of the day, I find the end of the day is easiest because gratitude a lot of times is for what has passed. You could think of it as appreciation and appreciate things throughout the day, but at the end of the day, what you want to do is you want to ask yourself, what really went well today? What are the highlights in terms of what went really well? Or what was just really good about the day? And you need 5 things. So every day you're looking for 5 things. And what will happen is as you're doing this, it will start to rewire the synapses in brain to scan for things that are good. It will look for things that will oh yeah, that's something that I appreciate or can be grateful for. And so you're building up this new habit. And in this new habit is rewiring and reconfiguring the brain. Instead of a purely negative or dark context, you're countering that with a positive context. And so you're training the brain to look for the positives so that way you can go over them at the end of the day. And although it's midday, things I would list today. One, it's a beautiful 77-degree day. It's just a beautiful day. I love it. Another thing is I'm grilling steaks for me and my wife to eat this, for supper today. I don't get a chance to eat a lot of steak anymore. It's expensive and I just don't eat that much anymore. So the whole idea of a You know, the old days when I was younger, I'd eat like a 1 pound steak. I just can't do that anymore. I can barely eat half of it. So it's one of those things where, you know, grilling steaks is kind of a treat. So having steak today, that's something to be grateful for. The beautiful day. I'm between jobs. And so I was able to find 6 jobs to apply to today. So I'm grateful that I found 6 today to apply to. Because it won't take long to find another job if I can keep finding 6 every day. 6 is a good day. So it's like, yeah, I found 6 jobs to apply to today. That's a good day. You know, because in a week they'll give me 30 applications. In a month, that's over 120 going to 150. So, you know, when you're applying to that kind of volume, something will turn up. And this is just midday. So, I mean, I've got 3 things already, and I've still got several more hours of my day left. But at the end of the day, you know, kind of part of your nightly routine, you know, after you floss and brush or whatever, you might just want to sit down. And again, you want to think of 5 good things. Not that there's only 5 good things, but 5 really good things of today. What really went well? Something to be grateful for. Something to be appreciated that it was there today. And once you have your 5, if you want to reinforce it a bit more, I don't do this because I don't journal. But if you journal, if you like writing in a journal, take one of the 5 and journal about it. So as part of if you journal as part of your normal journaling, take one of the things and say and write about the thing you're most grateful for. What the best? What went well the best today? And in that way, this helps reinforce the positive mindset and circuitry of the brain, because in order to journal and go through that, mentally you're reliving the experience. And in that way, it's like image training. I mean, they've done studies in image training. You know, there was a study where they were shooting free throws, and they had one group that just shot, you know, so many free throws a day. They had another group that didn't touch a basketball, just mentally imagined and shot so many free throws each day. They had another group that did neither, and they had another group that did both. And when the month passed and they did tests with actual free throws, the group that did the best was the group that not only practiced but also did image training. But funny enough, the group that actually did the free throws and the ones that just imagined it did pretty close to the same. And the group that did the worst of all didn't do image training or practice free throws. And so in your journaling or writing about the gratitude, in a way this is image training. The brain has to relive the experience. And so when you're reliving the experiences, the synapses are firing again in very similar ways. And so it's the repetitive fire that creates the not so much the tendency, but it's one of those things where if certain synapses fire often, it's easier for them to fire. The ones that don't fire often, more resistance, they're harder to fire. So what you're doing is you're decreasing the resistance. You're making finding positive quicker, easier. And so those two are the things, ideally, if you journal, do both. If you don't journal or don't like the idea of writing, just do the one where at the end of every day, the 5 things that went really well or you're grateful for. And after every day for a month, 245 days, there'll be this habit built in of doing it. It'll become much easier to do. And after about 45 days, you'll find the outlook of life is shifting. It is literally changing the way the world is viewed, the way it's seen. And I think this is an important thing to do just to counter the negativity, I think. The dark view people live in. Perhaps when you have encountering the negative tendency with a more positive tendency, you know, it'll be easier to see reality itself. where if the brain's no longer, if the brain, instead of just purely instead of purely coloring it darkly or negatively all the time, you learn to see things positive as well. Eventually it'll balance out, I think, and you might be able to just see without needing to color it darkly or particularly coloring it positively. Because what'll happen is you'll reach more of an equilibrium because you're countering the negativity here. And so what'll happen is when something arises, although there may be some tendencies, conditioning, and habits to think negatively or darkly, at the same time you've got the counter programming of looking, of gratitude and looking for the positives. And so when something arises, if it's purely neutral, it'll be more likely to just remain neutral as opposed to be darkened or tinted darkly or negatively immediately, because that's the soul programming. So it's just a different way of tweaking the way you look at the world. Because I think if we didn't have the negative downward spirals, we might find that what isn't that bad. And in this way, you might resist what is a bit less, or be willing to see what is as it really is a bit more, as opposed to already deciding it's negative and just living in your own mind of an echo chamber of past negative experiences just rattling around in the head. So, I think this will make things more conducive to seeing what is as it is. It's more conducive to embracing what is. In particular, if you have a propensity of being very dark or negative the way you see the world. So, if you got any questions, comments, please post below. Until next time, thank you much.